Hey everyone, and welcome back to another deep dive. We're always on the lookout for trends that are going to have a real impact on how we live, work, and, well, get around. And this episode, we're plugging into something that's definitely got our attention. Mobile EV charging, right here in Kentucky.
It's certainly an area that's evolving quickly.
It really is. And for anyone listening who's already driving an EV or maybe thinking about making the switch, I'm sure figuring out where and how to charge is probably at the top of your mind.
Oh, absolutely. Especially with more and more EVs hitting the roads here in the Commonwealth. It's a hot topic for sure.
Yeah, and I gotta say, when we started looking into this, I was a bit surprised by the amount of information out there. You've got articles, blog posts, company websites, government reports, you name it.
Yeah, it can be a lot to sift through. It really can. So that's our mission today. We want to cut through all that noise and really distill what's most important for you, our listeners. We're going to break down the latest in mobile EV charging, everything from the nitty-gritty of how it works to the costs involved and the real advantages it offers, both for drivers and businesses here in Kentucky.
It's a good plan. There's a lot to unpack.
There really is. All right, let's jump in. So first off, can you give us a sense of why this mobile EV charging thing is such a big deal right now? What's driving all this interest?
Well, it's really tied to the fact that we've seen such a dramatic increase in the number of EVs on Kentucky roads over the past, I'd say, decade or so. And as that number keeps climbing, the demand for more versatile and convenient charging options, well, it just naturally grows along with it.
I see. So it's not just about having charging stations, it's about having the right type of charging in the right places.
Exactly. It's not enough to just have a place to plug in anymore. People want charging that fits seamlessly into their lives, their commutes, their routines, and particularly in areas where, that traditional charging station infrastructure might still be developing. That's where mobile charging really shines.
Makes sense. And it sounds like this isn't just a trend driven by, early adopters or tech enthusiasts. There seems to be real support at both the state and federal levels to make EVs more accessible in Kentucky.
You're absolutely right. There are a number of initiatives aimed at doing just that, which is really encouraging.
And from a driver's standpoint, well, let's be honest, cost is always a big factor. So how does mobile EV charging stack up against, traditional gasoline costs?
Well, it's definitely something people should consider carefully when weighing their options.
Yeah, and, we've seen some sources suggesting that switching to an EV and using mobile charging could potentially save drivers a significant amount of money each year.
Right, especially if you can take advantage of things like off-peak electricity rates, when electricity tends to be cheaper. And depending on your driving habits, those savings could really add up over time.
We're talking, potentially over $1,000 in savings each year for the average driver in Kentucky?
Possibly even more in some cases, yes.
That's not insignificant.
Not at all.
And then, of course, we have to talk about the environmental aspect. I mean, EVs are inherently cleaner than gasoline vehicles, right?
Yes, without a doubt. And that reduction in carbon emissions, well, it aligns perfectly with Kentucky's broader goals of creating a more sustainable future. It's a win-win in many ways.
It seems like mobile charging is becoming a really integral part of Kentucky's, transportation ecosystem.
I think that's a fair assessment.
So who are the players in this space? What companies are out there actually offering these mobile charging solutions?
There are a good number of them, actually, and many are using some very cutting-edge technology, which is exciting to see.
Any standouts, any companies that are really catching your eye in terms of innovation or customer service?
Well, one that comes to mind is BeeCharged EV. They seem to be very focused on both pushing the boundaries of what's possible with mobile charging and making sure their customers have a really positive experience.
Yeah, we've been looking into them as well. And what impressed me is that they don't just sell you a charger and send you on your way. They seem to have a much more holistic approach, right?
Yes, absolutely.
They offer services like, site assessments, where they actually come to your home or business to figure out the best spot for a charger.
Exactly. They take into account things like your power needs, the layout of your property, and then they come up with a plan that's going to be the most efficient for you. They handle the entire installation process.
Okay, so they really try to make it as seamless as possible for the customer.
That's their goal, from what I've gathered.
And they offer different levels of chargers too, right? We've heard about these level 2 and level 3 chargers. What's the difference?
That's a key distinction to understand. So level 2 chargers, they're great for a more moderate charge, the kind you might do overnight at home or maybe at your workplace.
Okay, so not super fast, but still much quicker than plugging into a standard outlet, I assume.
Right, significantly faster.
Okay, and then what about level 3?
Level 3 chargers, those are the ones that offer that really rapid charging, what some people call DC fast charging. They can get your battery up to 80%, sometimes even higher, in under an hour.
Wow, that's impressive.
It is. And that kind of speed can be a real game changer for businesses with fleets of vehicles, for example, where minimizing downtime is crucial.
I bet. Or for people on a road trip who need a quick charge to get back on the road.
Absolutely.
Now, once the charger is installed, are you on your own? Or do these companies provide ongoing support?
Well, that's another thing that stood out to me when researching BeeCharged EV and other similar providers. They seem to really understand the importance of ongoing service. They offer things like regular maintenance checks, software updates, just making sure everything is running smoothly.
Oh, so you're not just left to figure things out on your own if there's a problem.
Right. And some companies, like we've seen with Greenbox here in Lexington, they even guarantee 24/7 emergency repairs, which gives you peace of mind.
That's a great point. It's not just about the technology, it's about the support that comes with it.
Exactly. It's a whole package.
So if someone's listening and they're intrigued by this whole mobile EV charging thing and they want to learn more, how would they get in touch with a company like BeeCharged EV?
Well, you can find them online at their website, BeeChargedEV.com. They also have an email address, info@BeeChargedEV.com, and a phone number, 888-675-9555. They seem very open to answering questions and helping people find the right solution for their needs.
That's good to know. All right, let's go back to those charger levels for a second. You've got level 1, level 2, and level 3. Can you give us a quick rundown of what each level means and who they're best suited for?
Sure. So level 1, that's your most basic level. It's essentially plugging your EV into a standard 120-volt household outlet.
So the kind we all have at home.
Exactly. It's the slowest way to charge. You'll only get a few miles of range per hour, but it's good for topping off your battery overnight if you don't drive a lot.
Okay, makes sense. Then you have level 2, which is faster, right?
Much faster. It uses a 240-volt outlet, like the one you might use for your clothes dryer.
Oh, okay. So you might need an electrician to install a dedicated outlet for that.
That's likely, yes. But it's a good option for both homes and businesses because it can give you a full charge overnight in many cases.
Makes sense. And then level 3, those are the super fast ones.
Right. Those are the DC fast chargers. They use direct current, which allows for much faster charging speeds. They're the ones you see at dedicated charging stations along highways and in public areas.
The ones that can get you from, 20% to 80% in like half an hour?
Sometimes even faster, yes.
Impressive stuff. All right, now I want to talk about the difference between, these fixed charging stations that we're all getting used to seeing and these newer mobile charging options. Can you break down the pros and cons of each?
Sure. So fixed charging stations, they're great for routine, predictable charging. You have one at your home, you plug in every night, you know where the public charging stations are along your commute, you can plan your stops. They offer that consistency.
Right, but they are fixed in place, obviously. Yeah.
And that's where mobile charging comes in. Mobile units offer that incredible flexibility. They can be deployed practically anywhere.
So you could take them to, I don't know, a sporting event, a concert, a festival.
Absolutely. Or to a construction site, a remote work location, you name it.
That's amazing.
And in emergency situations, they can be a lifesaver, providing power where it's needed most.
I see. So it really expands the possibilities of where and when you can charge your EV. So for our listeners who are, maybe considering their EV charging options, what are the main benefits of going mobile?
Well, first off, you can potentially avoid the cost and disruption of installing a high-powered fixed charger at your home.
Oh, right, because those can be quite expensive.
They can, yes.
Yeah.
And sometimes they require upgrades to your home's electrical system, which adds even more expense.
Makes sense. And with a mobile unit, you have that freedom to charge wherever you happen to be.
That's a big advantage for many people. Plus, as we talked about earlier, it can contribute to those lower running costs compared to a gasoline vehicle.
Good point. So if I'm hearing you correctly, it sounds like mobile charging offers a lot of benefits, particularly for people who, I don't know, maybe don't drive predictable routes every day, or who want that flexibility to charge in different locations.
That's a fair summary, yes.
Now, how do I know what type of charger is right for me? I mean, is there a simple answer to that question?
Unfortunately, no. It really depends on your individual circumstances, your driving habits, your budget.
Okay, so factors like where I need to charge most often, how quickly I need a full charge.
Exactly, and how much you're willing to spend. There's no one-size-fits-all solution.
Makes sense. So what's the best way to figure that out?
Honestly, talking to a specialist is a good first step. Companies like BeeCharged EV, they offer consultations where they can assess your needs and recommend the best option for you.
They can help you weigh those different factors and come up with a plan.
Exactly. It takes the guesswork out of it.
Okay, that's good to know. Now let's talk about the technology itself. What's happening in the world of mobile EV charging? Are there any new innovations, any trends that our listeners should be aware of?
Oh, there's a lot happening. It's a very dynamic space.
So we've talked about level 2 and level 3 charging, but I'm curious, are those capabilities being incorporated into mobile units?
They are, yes. You can find mobile units that offer both level 2 and level 3 charging.
So you can potentially get a really fast charge from a mobile unit.
Yes, if speed is important for you, that's definitely an option.
Okay, and what about those level 2 mobile units? Are they just for home use, or can businesses use them too?
Businesses are using them more and more. They're great for workplaces that want to offer charging as a perk for their employees, or for hotels, restaurants, any business that wants to attract EV drivers.
That makes sense. Providing charging can be a real draw for customers.
Absolutely.
Now, what about integration with existing systems? I know a lot of people have home charging stations already. Can these mobile units work with those systems?
Yes, many of them are designed to integrate with home EVSE systems. EVSE stands for Electric Vehicle Supply Equipment. It's essentially the hardware and software that manages the charging process.
Okay, so I can potentially control both my fixed charger and my mobile charger from the same app, for example.
That's the idea. It simplifies things for the user.
And potentially makes it easier to take advantage of things like off-peak charging.
Exactly. You can schedule your charging to happen when electricity rates are lower, which can save you money.
It all ties together.
It does. And beyond integration, we're seeing a lot of focus on improving the technology itself. Faster charging speeds, greater energy efficiency, smarter chargers that can adjust the charging rate based on real-time conditions, and more portable units that are easier to transport and set up.
So there's a lot of innovation happening.
There really is. It's an exciting time to be following this space.
And for anyone who wants to delve deeper into these technological advancements, is BeeCharged EV a good resource?
They definitely could be. They're on the cutting edge of this technology, so reaching out to them would be a good start.
Okay, great. Now, we've talked about the technology, the different levels of charging, the pros and cons of mobile versus fixed. But what about the practical aspects? I mean, if I decide to get a mobile EV charger, what's involved in the installation process?
That's a good question. It's important to understand what to expect.
Right, because I imagine it's more complex than just plugging it into an outlet.
It can be, yes. Typically, the process starts with a thorough site assessment.
So, someone comes to my home or business to take a look around.
Exactly. They'll evaluate things like your electrical capacity, make sure you have enough power to support the charger, and determine the best location for the unit, taking into account accessibility and safety.
Oh, so they'll help you figure out the best spot to put it, considering things like where you park your car.
Absolutely. And they'll make
Yeah.
sure it's installed in a safe and secure way.
Okay, that's reassuring. And once they've done the assessment, what happens next?
Then they'll handle the actual installation, making sure all the wiring is done correctly and that the unit is properly grounded. And once it's installed, they'll run tests to make sure everything is functioning as it should.
So they make sure it's all working before they leave.
Yes, and ideally, the whole process can be completed in a single day to minimize any disruption to your routine.
That's good to know. Now, what about maintenance? Once the charger is installed, what do I need to do to keep it running smoothly?
Regular maintenance is crucial, just like with any piece of technology.
So what does that involve?
Well, it typically includes routine inspections, making sure all the connections are tight, the wiring is in good condition, and there's no damage to the unit.
Okay, so just a general checkup.
Yes, and then you have software updates, because many of these modern chargers have sophisticated software that controls their operation.
Oh, right. So those need to be updated periodically, just like our phones and computers.
Exactly. And then, of course, there's the possibility of parts wearing out over time. So you might need things like new cables, connectors, or other components replaced.
Okay, makes sense. And who handles those repairs?
Well, that's where having a good service plan comes in. Most providers offer service plans that cover repairs and maintenance. And as we mentioned earlier, some companies, like Greenbox, offer that 24/7 emergency service, so you can get help quickly if you need it.
That's a good point. Having that peace of mind is valuable.
Absolutely. And ultimately, by prioritizing both proper installation and regular maintenance, you're ensuring that your charging solution is going to be both efficient and reliable for years to come.
Right, so it's an investment that pays off in the long run.
Exactly. It's not just about the upfront cost. It's about the long-term value.
And if any of our listeners are in Kentucky and looking for a provider that offers these services, BeeCharged EV is one they can consider.
They certainly are. They have a strong reputation for quality and customer service.
Okay, great. Now let's shift gears a bit and talk about how to choose the right EV charging station. I know we touched on this earlier, but can you walk us through the process step by step?
Sure. So the first step is really to think about your specific needs. Where will you be charging most often? At home, at work, on the go? How far do you typically drive each day? How much time do you have for charging?
So it's about understanding your driving habits.
Absolutely. And then you need to think about your budget. How much are you willing to spend on a charging station?
Right, because as we've discussed, the costs can vary significantly.
They can, yes.
Mm.
And once you have a general idea of your needs and budget, then you can start looking at the different types of chargers available.
Level 1, Level 2, Level 3.
Exactly. And remember, a site assessment is crucial before you make any final decisions.
So that's where a company like BeeCharged EV would come to your home or business and take a look.
Exactly. They'll evaluate your electrical system, determine the optimal placement for the charger, and make sure everything is safe and up to code.
And they'll take into account things like the length of the charging cable, right? Because I imagine that could be a factor.
You can, yes. You want a cable that's long enough to reach your car comfortably, but not so long that it becomes a tripping hazard.
Makes sense. And they'll also consider your power availability, right?
Absolutely. They'll make sure your electrical system can handle the demands of the charger you choose, especially if you're considering a Level 2 or Level 3 charger.
Okay, so there's a lot to think about.
There is, but a good site assessment can save you a lot of headaches down the road.
Any other tips for our listeners who are in this decision-making process?
Well, I would say prioritize accessibility. Make sure the charger is going to be easy to reach from where you typically park your car.
Right, don't put it in a spot that's difficult to get to.
Exactly. And think about your future needs. Might you get another EV down the road? If so, you might need a charger that can handle multiple vehicles.
Good point. And ultimately, getting expert advice is invaluable.
It really is. Companies like BeeCharged EV can provide that personalized guidance, helping you make the best choice for your specific situation.
Okay, great. Let's talk about the bigger picture now. Kentucky is receiving a pretty significant amount of federal funding to boost its EV infrastructure, right?
Yes, $32.9 million to be exact. It's part of the National EV Infrastructure Deployment Plan.
That's a big investment. What's the goal of this funding?
Well, the main goal is to accelerate the adoption of EVs in Kentucky by making charging more accessible and convenient.
So it's not just about installing more chargers, it's about putting them in strategic locations.
Absolutely. It's about creating a network of chargers that will give EV drivers the confidence to travel throughout the state without worrying about running out of power.
I see. And how will this funding be used specifically?
Well, a large portion of it will go towards installing fast chargers along major highways and corridors.
Oh, so that EV drivers can make long trips without having to wait hours for their car to charge.
Exactly. The goal is to have fast chargers available approximately every 50 miles along those routes.
That's a huge improvement.
It is. It'll make long-distance EV travel much more practical.
And what about local businesses and homeowners? Will they benefit from this funding?
Yes, there are programs designed to help businesses and homeowners install chargers at their locations as well.
So it's not just focused on public charging infrastructure, it's about making charging more accessible everywhere.
Exactly. It's a comprehensive approach.
Now, beyond the funding, what other trends are shaping the future of EV charging in Kentucky?
Well, one big trend is the rise of those mobile charging units we talked about earlier.
Oh, right, because they offer that flexibility and can be deployed quickly to meet demand wherever it arises.
Exactly. They're a perfect complement to fixed charging stations.
Makes sense. Any other trends?
We're also seeing continued advancements in fast charging technology, making those super fast charging times even shorter. And government incentives are playing a big role in encouraging the adoption of EVs.
Oh, right, like tax credits for buying an EV or installing a charger?
Exactly. Those incentives can make a big difference in the overall cost.
So it sounds like the future of EV charging in Kentucky is very bright.
It does, yes. There's a lot of momentum behind this transition to electric mobility, and it's exciting to see how it's unfolding.
It's really encouraging. Okay, let's get down to brass tacks now. We've talked about the benefits, the technology, the trends, but what about the cost? What can people expect to pay for a mobile EV charging solution?
That's a key question, of course, and unfortunately there's no easy answer. The cost can vary widely depending on a number of factors.
Right, like the type of charger, the installation, the ongoing maintenance.
Exactly.
So let's break it down. What about the chargers themselves? What's the price range for those?
Well, for level 2 chargers, which are often the most popular choice for homes and businesses, you're looking at a range from, I'd say, around $1,500 to $9,000.
Okay, so pretty wide range. What factors influence the price there?
Things like the power output of the charger, the number of charging ports it has, the brand, and the features it offers.
Makes sense. And then level 3 chargers, those are the super fast ones. What about those?
Those are significantly more expensive. You could be looking at anywhere from $15,000 to over $150,000 for a level 3 charger.
Wow, that's a big jump.
It is, yes. But they offer those incredibly fast charging speeds, which can be crucial for certain businesses or for public charging stations.
Right, where time is of the essence.
Exactly.
Now, those prices, those are just for the units themselves, right?
That's correct.
Hmm.
You also need to factor in the cost of installation.
Which can be substantial?
It can be, yes. It depends on a number of factors, like whether you need any electrical upgrades to your home or business, the complexity of the installation, and the labor costs in your area.
So, if I need to upgrade my electrical panel to handle the new charger, that could add thousands of dollars to the project.
It could, yes. And then you have labor costs, which can vary depending on the electrician you hire.
Makes sense. Any other costs I should be aware of?
Well, there might be some additional costs for things like permits or inspections, depending on your local regulations. And then, of course, there's the ongoing cost of maintenance.
Oh, right. We talked about the importance of regular maintenance.
Absolutely. That can add up over time, so it's important to factor that into your budget.
Okay, so it seems like there are a lot of variables when it comes to the cost of a mobile EV charging solution.
There are, yes. But the good news is that there are resources available to help you navigate those costs.
Like what?
Well, for starters, many providers, like BeeCharged EV, offer free consultations and quotes, so you can get a better sense of what your project might cost.
Okay, so I can reach out to them and get a personalized estimate.
Exactly. And you should also be aware of any government incentives that might be available.
Oh, right, like tax credits for installing a charger.
Yes, those can significantly reduce the overall cost.
So it pays to do your research.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Don't just focus on the sticker price. Consider the long-term value and the potential savings.
Good point. Okay, let's talk about a company we've mentioned several times now, BeeCharged EV. They seem to be a leader in the EV charging space, particularly here in Kentucky. Can you tell us more about them and what makes them stand out?
Sure. So, BeeCharged EV is a company that's really focused on providing comprehensive EV charging solutions. They don't just sell you a charger, they handle everything from the initial consultation and site assessment to the installation, maintenance, and ongoing support.
So they really try to make it a seamless experience for the customer.
That's their goal, yes. They
Yeah.
want to take the guesswork and hassle out of EV charging.
I see. And what about their team? What's their expertise like?
They have a team of skilled professionals who are experts in EV charging technology and installation. They're knowledgeable, experienced, and dedicated to providing top-notch service.
That's important. You want to know that the people working on your system know what they're doing.
Absolutely. And BeeCharged EV really emphasizes customer service. They're known for being responsive, helpful, and going the extra mile to make sure their customers are satisfied.
And they offer different types of chargers, right?
Yes, they have a range of level 2 and level 3 chargers to choose from, so they can tailor a solution to your specific needs.
Okay, so whether you're a homeowner, a business owner, or maybe even a municipality, they can work with you to find the right charging solution.
That's right. They work with a wide range of clients.
Now, what about their approach to installation? What's their process like?
They have a very structured and thorough process. They start with a comprehensive site evaluation to assess your needs and determine the best placement for the charger. Then they handle all the permitting and inspections, and they install the charger according to the highest industry standards.
So they take care of all the details.
They do, yes. They want to make sure everything is done right the first time.
And they offer ongoing maintenance too, right?
Absolutely. They have maintenance plans that cover routine inspections, software updates, and repairs.
So you're not just left on your own once the charger is installed.
Right. They're there to support you throughout the life of your charging system.
That's a good point. It's a long-term partnership.
It is. They're committed to helping their customers make the most of their EV charging investment.
And they seem to have a lot of happy customers. We've seen some really positive testimonials about their work.
Yes, they do. They have a strong reputation for quality and customer satisfaction.
So if you're looking for a reliable, experienced, and customer-focused EV charging provider, BeeCharged EV is definitely worth considering.
They are. And they have all the information you need on their website, BeeChargedEV.com.
Right, and you can reach them by email at info@beechargedev.com or give them a call at 888-675-9555. All right, let's step back again and look at the bigger picture. We've talked a lot about the technology and the practical aspects of EV charging, but I want to talk about the impact this transition to electric mobility is having on Kentucky's economy and environment.
It's definitely a significant shift with far-reaching implications.
So let's start with the economy. How is the rise of EVs impacting Kentucky's economy?
Well, for starters, it's creating jobs. The EV industry is growing rapidly, and that growth is creating new jobs in manufacturing, engineering, installation, maintenance, and more.
Right, and we've seen some major investments in Kentucky's EV sector recently.
Absolutely. The Blue Oval SK Battery Park is a huge example. That's a $5.8 billion investment that's projected to create thousands of jobs.
That's a game changer for the state.
It is. And it's not just Blue Oval SK. We're seeing other companies investing in Kentucky's EV sector as well.
So it's a real economic driver.
It is. And the growth of the EV industry is also attracting new businesses and talent to the state.
I see. So it's a positive feedback loop. More investment leads to more jobs, which leads to more economic activity.
Exactly. And then there's the environmental impact. EVs are much cleaner than gasoline vehicles, so the growth of the EV sector is helping to reduce Kentucky's carbon footprint.
That's a big deal. Kentucky has set some ambitious goals for reducing its greenhouse gas emissions, right?
Yes. The goal is to achieve net zero carbon emissions by 2050.
And the growth of the EV sector is a big part of that plan.
It is. It's a key strategy for reducing emissions from the transportation sector, which is a major source of greenhouse gases.
And beyond just reducing emissions, are there other environmental benefits to EVs?
Absolutely. EVs also help to reduce air pollution, which can improve public health, especially in urban areas.
Oh, right, because gasoline vehicles emit all sorts of pollutants that can harm our health.
Exactly. And EVs are much quieter than gasoline vehicles, so they also help to reduce noise pollution.
So it's a win for the environment and a win for public health.
It is. It's a really positive development all around.
And it sounds like Kentucky is really embracing this transition to electric mobility.
They are. They're making significant investments in EV infrastructure, supporting the growth of the EV industry, and promoting the adoption of EVs through incentives and education.
It's encouraging to see. Okay, let's talk specifically about commercial properties now. We've talked about how mobile EV charging can benefit homeowners, but what about businesses? How can they take advantage of this technology?
Well, there are a lot of opportunities for businesses to benefit from EV charging.
Like what?
Well, for starters, businesses can install chargers at their locations to attract customers who drive EVs.
Oh, right, because EV drivers are always looking for places to charge their cars.
Exactly. And offering charging can be a real competitive advantage for businesses. It can attract new customers, increase customer loyalty, and enhance your brand image.
Makes sense. And businesses can also install chargers for their employees to use, right?
Absolutely. Offering workplace charging can be a great perk for employees who drive EVs. It can also help to attract and retain top talent.
I see. And businesses with fleets of vehicles can transition to EVs and install charging infrastructure to support those fleets.
That's right. That can lead to significant cost savings on fuel and maintenance, and it's also a great way to reduce your company's carbon footprint.
So there are a lot of potential benefits for businesses.
There are, yes. And mobile EV charging can be a particularly good solution for businesses that have limited space or that need a flexible charging option.
Oh, right, because mobile chargers can be moved around as needed?
Exactly. They're a great option for businesses that host events, for example, or that have seasonal fluctuations in their charging needs.
Makes sense. Now, what should businesses consider when choosing an EV charging solution?